Good afternoon and welcome back again to this annual program featuring the webinar series. The monsoons have arrived in Bengal and it has been raining pretty heavily and incessantly over the last few days. The state is slowly recovering after the ravages of a cyclone and the resulting tidal waters. Like several other organizations and relief agencies, the Om Dayal Group has also been doing its bit to help the underprivileged and the affected sections of the society. Distribution of cooked meals have taken up pace in several areas of the affected regions. Now the favorite Adda sessions have resumed with cooling down of the weather. Vaccination drives have also picked up with the government opening up more and more centers. The Om Dayal Group has also contributed in this respect. The academic fraternity, largely confined to working from home, has continued its interactive sessions. This is one of them that we have been doing for the last 1 week or so. This is the third of the topics of the ongoing series of webinars and discussions. And today's session on art and design will be chaired by architect Shankhu Subro Gangopadhyay, SSG, as we very fondly refer to him, is a gold medalist from the erstwhile Bengal Engineering College, belonging to the 1982 batch of graduates. He has spent most of his professional career at Mecon, one of the largest consultant group in the public sector. He has designed and monitored several important buildings and township projects, including the Central Jail at Ranchi and the new Mint building in Hyderabad. Shankhu Subro Ganguly joined the faculty at Om Dayal College in 2016. SSG, over to you. Please welcome Professor S.S. Gangopadhyay.
Thank you, Professor Mukherjee. Good afternoon to all my friends and faculties and students who have joined this session. Professor Mukherjee has already told you that today's session is about art and design. The two terms are very close to each other, but there is a basic difference. Art do not have any liability or requirement of satisfying any purpose. An artist is free to express anything as per his own wish and connect to the people or the viewers in the psychological or emotional level. People can get psychological satisfaction or an art can arouse their interest. An artist is free to express anything which connect to the observer in the emotional psychological level. On the other hand, preliminary purpose of a design is to fulfill certain requirements. But there is a common term applied to both art and design. That is aesthetics. As art can be classified as fine art, sculpture, performing art, etc., design also serves different domains like product design, graphics design, architectural design, landscape design, performance design, etc. But today we shall mainly concentrate on architectural design and try to explore the relationship between art and design. So starting from the prehistoric period, art and architecture both passed through evolutions. In the process, both have taken inspiration from nature as well as enriched each other by subtle infiltration or style or expression. Like art movement, cubism, surrealism, deconstruction, etc., have influenced architecture a lot. B.V. Doshi, the renowned architect, once said, the most important part of a design is a pause or relief. In fact, in various contemporary works, we have seen the insertion of ambiguous spaces, which infused life in the array of designated spaces. We can take examples from works of Michael Graves, Peter Einsman, and Akihisa Hirata. In tribal villages, you can see spontaneously painted graffiti on building walls, mixing art with architecture, changing the ambience into a vibrant and lively one. All art movements had some history behind them, like due to the Industrial Revolution, people thought that after the invention of photography, it doesn't carry any sense to imitate the nature or make photographic drawings. So the movements like Impressionism come. And it was a painting by Claude Monet titled Impression Sunrise, which actually brought the name Impressionism. It was just a ray of fleeting lights on a scenario of a sunrise, and it was not an exact portrayal of the nature, and it was a just impression or the mood of the nature that was conveyed. Similarly, in Cubism, we see that the artist explores the object from different viewing angles and break the planes and reassemble them. That is the start of the Cubism, and which was further carried to magic realism and surrealism. In surrealism, the people lost the faith in the reality, and the artist's refuge was the dream. And the dream sequence started to come in the painting, where the elements may be real, but the sequence is totally dreamlike or unreal. In magical realism also, the same thing as it was in literature by Kafka. We see the metamorphosis in which a man is converted to a gigantic insect. Similarly, in the magic realism by Frida Kahlo and other artists, we see the elements of everyday life, but that is presented in an unreal or magical situation. So those movements also enriched architecture. We see direct reflection of Cubism, Surrealism, and deconstruction in architecture. In a modern day search for new idioms, we have probably created some lifeless edifices which, instead of being close to human being, have generated repulsive and negative, awe-inspiring result. Should we delve into the core and rediscover insertion in art and architecture to create more positive spaces? That is the point to ponder. Our team comprised of 9 students from final year. They are Ankita Dash, Asadur Rahman, Diptangshu Hait, Ritik Sarkar, Jagriti Dotto, Jyotirmoy Mondol, Monjima Sadhu Khan, Rishabh Ranjan Sinha, and Shubhadeep Chaudhary. We had a nice time deliberating over this particular topic and discussing, arguing, and brought out newer issues on which we have worked. And they have worked a lot. I'm thankful to them. Now, the work of presentation will be presented by Ankita Dash and Asad-ur Rahman. I hand over the dais to them.
Good evening, my respected teachers, batchmates, and seniors and juniors. So, as Shankar sir mentioned, we are surrounded by a work of art and work of designs. I guess everyone watching this webinar will agree on that. But art and design are two completely different topics, but they share the same amount of similarity. So let's have a discussion about them in detail. So let me ask you, Ankita, what is art?
Art is the expression of application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. Hence, we can understand any form of artwork deals with a person's emotion, impression, and has to be visually impressive and meaningful for the spectator. So in that case, Asad, what is design?
Design is a plan or specification for the construction of an object or system, or for the implementation of an activity or process, or the result of the plan or specification in the form of a prototype product or process. Verb to design expresses the process of developing it.
We know art and design share the same fundamental visual principle: color, shape, line, balance, contrast, rhythm, which are the most basic foundation for both artists and designers to create visual experiences, just the application of function that creates a line between both of them.
Okay, let us discuss how art came into existence. Now, going back in time, the beginning of art was witnessed on the walls of caves. It is true, as the early humans were unable to verbal communication, and they found out a way of communication through visual representation. They used to paint what they see, what they do, and what they believe. They started painting their daily life observations, activities on the walls of their caves. This was a medium of their communication, passing of knowledge on to generation, and storage of records. Later, this activity became a much more practiced hobby of the ancient people, as they found joy and entertainment through this work. This was a kind of break in their monotonous life of eating, hunting, and eating. So, what do you think about it, Ankita?
Yes, due to this, gradually communication going through visual representation helped them evolve through their imagination, hence evolving through time. As people became more indulged in artistic evolution, their utensils became more aesthetic and their products more colorful and visually pleasing. They started to welcome art in their regular lifestyle in a much more celebrated way. We know an art represents the ethnicity of the culture, people believe of the society. Hence, it also acts as a visual introduction of the society to an individual. We have witnessed that art and architecture share various elements in common, like physical form, shapes, lines, curves, colors, and texture.
Gradually, various examples regarding influence of art in architecture, like sculptures, were witnessed. With time, evolution of art affected the growth of design in general, which in turn is a result of manifestation, experience, and above all, an understanding of the capacity of certain structures and materials to resist external forces. Now let's check out how artwork has evolved with time. At early times, artwork was much more realistic, precise, and usually represented something like a person or an event or religious beliefs. For example, in these paintings, you can see paintings of Jesus Christ, Mona Lisa, or a certain event from a biblical culture. Paintings at that time were basically more focused, they focused on fine art. more precise artworks, perfection, human figures, and storytelling. But as time progressed, this was the reason art was basically used to represent social, special events and was mainly used in churches, palaces, since they were the most important locations. Hence, this was the early form of art. But with change in society and after various reforms, we could see a change in artwork and styles. We could see styles like Cubism, Futurism, etc. Further, we can see the new works of art were mainly based on imagination or expression of thoughts, ideas, and protests. But Cubism was a form of art which actually allowed the artist to break down a single entity into various forms to get various points of view. Futurism was a form of art which was invented to respect the futuristic inventions, the futuristic innovations, and the belief that the future is now more advanced. The new works of art were mainly based on imagination or expression of thoughts and ideas and protests. Hence, the concept of painting changed dramatically. Here we can see surrealism, abstract art, minimalism. Surrealism, the breaking of reality and imagination of artwork into a person's own language. Abstract art, a person's thinking with no proper physical form, physical shape, just a representation of what he thinks. And minimalism, reduction of elements, but rather playing with the gradients, colors, textures, and forms. Hence, art saw a very vast change in its presentation. Similar things happened with sculptures. Earlier, sculptures used to be very much realistic, precise, time-consuming, and perfection. But rather, the time evolved and people started expressing rather than imitating. Sculptures took a form of modern art, like we saw that surrealism, cubism. Sculptures also took the same path and were now more abstract, rather representing something in a very abstract way, in a much more creative way, in a much more expressive way, thought-provoking and improvising. So we have seen in the old architectural records that most of the early art creations were dedicated to kings and gods.
Exactly, because at that time, luxury and glorification were once dedicated to them, who ruled the place or to some supernatural power, and the concept of fear, respect, and dominance were displayed by these monumental artworks.
For example, Egyptian, Roman.
Exactly. They were the perfect examples. Then let us talk about how art and design influenced architectural earlier times. Architecture was also for gods and kings. They believed that the kings were on top of the society and that gods were their creators. Hence, to glorify their place and position, these glorious and elegant structures were built. Egyptian architecture was generally devoted to gods, tombs, and memorials, which referred to their belief of life after death. Their structures contained carvings, paintings, and sculptures based on religious beliefs, gods, and nature. Coming to Greek architecture, demonstrated great proportions, use of various structural elements. They incorporated various sculptures and carvings of human and natural elements into their designed members. Now, in Roman architecture, brought advancement in structure and incorporated more aesthetics and complexity into their design. Their work displayed a variety of color and textural contrast. Then in Gothic architecture, has everything in their disposal. Great structural properties, more enlightened and volumetric ambience, materialistic contrast. In case of Baroque architecture, is much more complex in ornamentation. The work is basically decorated with sculptures, paintings, and motifs. Both the interior and exterior are heavily ornamented. Then Islamic architecture is very simplified. It does not have ornamentation or sculptures, but rather portrays the materialistic characters very prominently. Geometry is very precise. Use of elements like arches, domes, geometric patterns painted on the wall's surface brings amazement to the structure.
Now in the new era, as we saw in the evolution of artworks, aesthetic architecture shifted from glorifying superior figures to be used for common people and to satisfy their different purpose. With the help of advanced technology and discovery of new construction methods, ideas, and materials, architecture became much simple and lightweight, and the concept of form follows function was implemented. Examples of some architecture which were inspired from artworks and vice versa. Postmodernism is an eclectic, colorful style of architecture, and the decorative arts that appeared from the late 1970s continued in some form today. Modernism is broadly characterized by simplification of form and subtraction of ornament from the structure and theme of the building. Minimalism implemented in modernism. Surrealist architecture tended to break the reality and the conventional image of buildings with straight and bold lines. It was replaced with crooked and distorted surfaces. Cubism inspired architects to break down a single entity into multiple cubic fragments, which would create multiple points of view.
Deconstructivism means to the breaking down or demolishing of a deconstructive structure, whether it being for structural reasons or just an act for rebellion. In brutalism, the structure illustrates typically, but not necessarily, brutalist characters such as top-heavy massing, the use of slender base supports, and the structural use of raw concrete. Organic architecture is a philosophy of architecture which promotes harmony between human habitation and the natural world. The Bauhaus movement championed a geometric, abstract style featuring little sentiment or emotion and no historical notes. And its aesthetic continues to influence architects, designers, and artists. Some artwork
which influenced architecture, like Cubism and Day Stage. As we have seen earlier, artists and architects have a symbiotic relationship, the give and take policy. Like art influenced architecture and architecture influenced art. Like in this case, Cubism, the art of Cubism inspired architects to break down a single entity into various cuboidal structures, increasing the complexity and asymmetry. Day stage property is that to bring down a particular painting into its basic rectangular forms and applying primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, in a very simplistic and minimalistic way. Minimalism was about reducing the number of elements or characteristics in an artwork. Now, we will be looking at the materialistic properties and how they enhance the architectural aesthetic of a particular structure. Any material play an important role in building up the aesthetics of a certain architecture. Why? Because materials have their own color, their texture, they generate a pattern, and hence they contribute a lot in building up the aesthetic property of a particular architecture. For example, in these pictures, we can see variants of colors such as blue, sky, red, yellow, white, as well as brown. Various materialistic colors, textures, playing beautifully with the aesthetic property of an architecture. Those properties can be seen in the following examples: the contrasting colors, saturated quality, even a monochromatic effect of brick and sandstone is very delightful to watch. Arrangement of materials generate two beautiful patterns, the rhythm of which catches and mesmerizes the spectators. For example, in this one, you can see that the brick pattern, a simple yet elegant wood, very close to nature. The steel roof, steel fins, the design, the pattern of a honeycomb creates a mesmerizing pattern, a very captivating one.
In some cases, structure, it is incorporated in a creative, non-aesthetic way and kept exposed can amplify the aesthetics, emotion, and experience of a particular space or building while keeping the requirement and functioning intact. We can see the designer's idea is to keep the structural members of a building exposed so that their formation and patterns only contribute to the building's artistic property. But the designer also makes sure that the structural function is not compromised, hence a new kind of innovation is explored. Asad, what do you think about natural influence in art and design? In previous some examples, we saw that natural elements such as leaves and petals were used as motifs and sculptures in various decorative purposes. Do you think nature has an influence on art and design?
Obviously, art and design are heavily inspired and influenced by nature. Nature is beauty at its best. Natural forms, colors, textures, they have always made an impact on a designer's or architect's mind and motivated them to incorporate them into their works. Not only a designer, but an artist. Nature is a beauty at its purest. Nature showcases colorful scenic beauties of flora and fauna, enormous sculpted mountains, pleasing colors, patterns, etc. Here we can see some examples of architectural works which were inspired from natural forms to which the structures look mesmerizing. For example, the Lotus Temple, the form of which is inspired from a lotus. The blooming petals, the rhythm of the petals, the curvilineous shapes. It's such beauty. It's a beauty to watch, to witness. Here we can see several examples of architecture. Inspiration of nature can also be witnessed in various artworks where the artist appreciates natural wonders. For example, in this case, if we see, a structural innovation can also be inspired from nature. The rocks, the way the rocks support each other and form an arch-like structure has inspired the formation of arches. Hence, we can say that nature is also an inspiration in design properties. And certain artworks, like in these examples, as we can see, various artworks which are imitated from nature, but they are very beautiful to watch. For example, the branches of trees, the rhythm that they play with, imitation of plants, as well as animals, the beautiful formation of a seahorse, and the interplay of colors. They really captivate our eyes. Hence, we can say that nature is a very, very, very important inspiration in terms of design, in terms of art. Okay. Now let us talk about a different kind of. We have seen that structural members being used as aesthetic properties, materialistic texture, sculptures, inscriptions, even ornamentations. But have we ever seen tribal art or any form of artwork directly on the walls of a structure? Tribal art is a form of art in which the tribal people represents their culture, their activities, their habits, their profession, their beliefs, their love, and their ideologies. Rather than using a canvas, the tribal people treat their houses as canvases itself. The external wall of their houses are painted in various beautiful patterns. These tribal art vary from place to place. Hence, we can get to see a range of tribal art throughout a certain society. Like in this example, we can see the activities, the culture, like riding bullock carts, the culture of wearing traditional clothes, the colors. So traditional art also depicts this culture of the particular community, the particular tribe. They worship their art. They believe that this is a very sacred thing. Hence, they also paint their houses for goodwill, for decorative purposes, and to improve the aesthetic property of their tribe, their community, the image of the society, the image of their locality, or the image of their colony. And tribal art is a very unique form of art. It is seen in various parts of India, Japan, Indonesia, etc., etc. We seek life, we seek experience beyond material satisfaction of mere function. And there we have to embrace art in our buildings. Instead of trying some distortion repelling human feelings, probably we should search the root. We should try to discover which is there in the core of expression. These lines are actually interpreting that architecture originated a very long time ago. Nature was one of his prime inspirations. With change of time, with change of people, with change of mentality, ideology, beliefs, architecture has evolved from religious to sports to public and now to residential homes. But do we know that where the future leads? What are the things that we are yet to see? What are the things that we are yet to experience, both in terms of art and in terms of architecture? As long as humanity evolves, architecture and art are tended to evolve. And yet, this field of profession or passion is yet to explore a lot. I hereby end our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Asad and Ankita, for your presentation. It was pretty interesting. Now, there is a question for you.
Yes, sir.
A question from the audience. And the question reads, how has color as an element of design and its social perception influence the transition of architectural styles? So in short, this question relates to the importance of color and how it is perceived in the transition of architectural styles. How does color play an important role?
I'd like to answer the question. Color is a very important element in our life, not only in architecture, but in our life. If you imagine a world which is colorless, which is black and white, then everything would be just a piece of rock to us. Colors play a very important role in architectural aesthetics, as we have discussed earlier. Now, if we compare the ancient forts, they basically displayed the raw texture or the raw color or the raw materialistic feature of the material itself. And in ancient times, an entire structure was made of a monolith, of a single material with a singular color. They played with the shades. They added very minimum textures. They added very minimum contrasting colors. But the colors used to be very dominant. It played well with the massiveness of the structure, the complexity of the form, the ornamentation of the form. For example, Red Fort, various Amer Fort, the Golden Fort in Jaisalmer. But with evolution of time, we saw a very vast innovation in materialistic properties, in materials, new invention of new discoveries of materials, colors, paints, and the demand of architecture also changed a lot. Like minimalism or modernism is a much more practiced architecture nowadays. With invention of glass, they found beauty as well as function to incorporate much more light. Iron was a very fast medium of construction. Hence, iron also iron replaced a lot of materials in terms of construction. Construction became very fast. And nowadays, paints, various elevation materials are also available. So we can see that as society has evolved, architecture has always tended to move towards simplicity. Like, as we discussed, the forts, the castles, or the churches, they displayed the raw texture of a certain material. That was stone, that was brick, that was burnt brick or granite. But now it is very simple in terms of construction, in terms of appearance. So simplicity also means calmness, peace, and hence people tend to move toward lighter colors like white, off-white, cream, and the saturation of the material, and they preferred a much more less saturated colors for their houses, because as we have discussed, it was a very that architecture has minimized a lot in terms of residences. The scale has reduced. Hence, the contrast between the materialistic texture and the form or the size must balance. So we can say that as we have evolved a lot, we have seen a various change in the field of materialistic innovations. Hence, as materialistic innovations came into play, materialistic, like the textures of houses also started to change, and people began to adapt according to that. For example, if I say in Mohenjo-daro, the entire city or the entire colonization was built out of burnt bricks, because that was the only prime material available at that time. That, according to the time, the builders found it aesthetic. We also found it aesthetic. We find it aesthetic even today, but it was relatable for that time period. But today, during this time, we can say that evolution has happened in terms of mentality, in terms of materialistic advancements. So we can say that even in art forms, we can see that nowadays the kind of art that we see are much more simpler. And we say that modern art. What is modern art? Modern art is nothing but a very simplified version of what used to be earlier. A representation of a person in just a few strokes and a few patches of color. So that is what people have started to take things, and it's my opinion. This may not be the truth, but people have started taking things or appreciating much minimal things in the modern day. So I would say that evolution of humankind have also played a very important role. Evolution of human, evolution of new advancements in terms of technology, materials, building construction methods, building construction new concepts like green architecture, the blending of green with the gray. So as we have evolved, our materials have evolved, our thinking has evolved, and our requirements have evolved. So we can say that in this way, the color or the texture or anything which reflects the skin of the structure has saw a change in its appearance. So that would be my answer. I hope it's. But again, I want to mention that everything I said was my opinion, and I said it on the basis of my studies and observations. So I would like to end the answer here. Okay.
Thank you. There is another question, and I think this is a little out of context. There is a question regarding vernacular architectural styles which can be used in modern days architecture. But then our presentation is not related to vernacular styles today. So we can answer this at a later date when we take up the discussion on vernacular architecture. Professor Shankar Ganguly, can you please add your comments to what Asad has mentioned? In the meantime, I would like to read out a short message from architect Mihir Mitra. He has added that color is an added adjective to the context. It's an actuation of the continuity. So that's his way of answering that question. Professor S.S. Ganguly, you can also add in your bit. Your mic is muted. Please unmute your mic.
Well, I think there can be a lot of discussions and debates about the relationship of art and architecture, in which way actually art is infiltrating architecture. That is a matter of debate. But I can tell you a small story to sum up. I think
no, we were sorry to interrupt. We were discussing the role of color.
Well, we have already seen in principles of architecture that color plays a very vital and important role in architecture, because when a form is generated, we try to establish the form in different languages. That may be the volume, that may be the size, that may be the placement of the form in the sunlight, the play of sunlight on the form. So all these things contribute to the creation of the form, and color is also a part of it. I can say that simply, maybe there are three blocks of same color. Now I just put different color to each block, and that is what identifies the block. Instead of three blocks in a row in a similar fashion, I just accentuate them with the color, and that makes the whole thing different, and that identifies the form. And that way, we should take help of materials. Actually, paint is one thing which is extensively used in art, but in architecture, we have the advantage of using materials which have the natural expressive colors, and through that also we can express a lot of things, like the stone, the texture of stone, the color of stone, the texture of a wooden door, the texture of a pergola, the texture of inbuilt, you can say, sculptures in the vicinity. So all these things have certain colors of material. Like a brick has a separate color, stone has a separate color, and nowadays we are getting a lot of materials like pre-coated steel sheet. They come in 5-6 type of variety of colors, and also the you can say the Cera cladding. Cera cladding, they offer you a texture of wood or stone without actually using wood or stone, which can be a dangerous thing, because exposed wood that can come under the influence of weather, and it can be destroyed. So in case of application of materials, now it is a way wide open to architects. They can select a range of materials, and definitely the color and texture of the material is very important thing, because something I am going to express, like I am using glass. So I know that the glass has a different kind of property than the opaque material, but I wanted that. I wanted a sea green glass to be provided in the left side of a staircase wall. and I know that what implication it has. Maybe I am composing something in which the solid and transparency plays a very vital role, and I may establish my building in such a way so that the sea green color is giving an impact to the otherwise white facade of the solid concrete wall. So that way we can think color, and color has an emotional value. We all know that red is very gorgeous type of color, cool is blue is serene, and sea green we can use, that is a very serene color. Shades of violets, mauves, etc., that also are uh, under the category of cool colors. So in a place where we are using a particular color, we have to be very conscious about that what color we are using and what impact it is bringing to the mind of the viewers or visitors. Actually, when a visitor passes through a building, he gets some clues. He gets some clues from the color, the texture, the flooring pattern, the light incoming in the particular area, and all this combined to his experience to generate a clue from the environment. So we have to be, ultimately we are going to use for people. We are going to use for human beings. So to us architects, the human beings reaction or experience should be most important, and that is not exactly where I can separate the color. That is a combined effect that is combining with the placement of the form, the light, the ventilation, the landscape, everything, and color is also a part of it, by which we can generate strong messages to people or observers. I can tell you in this context, I would like to say a few things. I think we are getting slightly shifted from our actual discussion. We were discussing about art and design. I will give a small story of my childhood where we had a local market in our vicinity, which I often visited to buy kites and marbles and other tops, etc. And that was a very interesting market that is not planned. That is with rough brick alleys and without any planning, just alleys are turning here and there. And you will see a lot of shops of different kind of materials like mango pulp, somewhere flour, somewhere tobacco, and somewhere whatnot shops with bangles and kites and marbles and whatnot. And that was a very interesting space for me. I didn't understand quite well that time that why it was so interesting space for me, because it had without planning also, it created an ambience which was a story-like ambience. Each corner, each bend, each lobby of the market just created some message and communicated some message. One day, suddenly, the municipal corporation decided the market has to be broken and a new area has to be constructed for the shop owners. And within maybe 1 year, a series of whitewashed banal gumtis came with rolling shutters. And it was a vulgar thing, in my opinion. And it was not communicating any story or dropping a hint. So that unplanned, what was there in that unplanned market? There was art. There was something that made the space beautiful without planning. So that is the thing. We have to think and consider that nowadays we are making big edifices with more structure and so many mind-boggling technology. But is it really satisfying human psychological or emotional need? So we have to probably delve into the code, and we have to see, we have to explore that what is there, and what is the basic nature of art, and what it can infuse into the building, and can we make our building people friendly by the communicating a message which is really charming, and people will enjoy the space, and probably there the art and architecture coupling will be satisfactory.
Thank you, Professor Gangopadhyay. A pretty lustrous way of defining things. This particular subject, art and design, and its implications in architecture are, this is a very interesting topic for all of us. You don't need to be an artist to comment about art. And it was very well put by you when you mentioned that it's all around us. Design is there all around us. We can perceive design at every level of our existence. So the moods that are generated by all these elements of design and all these principles on which they work, and how that affects the human mind, it was pretty well defined by that example from Professor S.S. Gangopadhyay. From everyday life, from experiences of everyday life, we come to feel about design which is there all around us. Design not as in the polished white surfaces, design as in what evokes moods and dreams in our minds. So thank you for listening to the session. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, participants. We would like to end the session today. Thanks again.